Good morning, everybody. So happy to see you. Sorry I didn't warn you about last week. Um, I just am not always in two places at once. But I'm happy to see you again today. So let's start with meditation. Take a deep breath in into your belly. And feel for that golden light, the light like the sun in your belly. Just hold your attention there and feel it all coming down. So your attention is in your belly, not in your head. And then when you're there, drop your attention down into the center of the earth. However far you can go is fine. You'll notice that every time you do this practice, you can go a little bit further. Our bodies are of the earth, and the earth is home. So you honor that connection to our planet. And the awareness that loving our planet is part of loving our life. And you gently allow your attention to rise up to your solar plexus. So it comes up through the ground, through your central channel, and up into your solar plexus, which is just below your rib cage. And feel all your attention in your solar plexus. And if you feel tightness there, that's because at some point you got the wind knocked out of you and haven't ever recovered from that trauma. So you just breathe into that space and ask it to let go. And see if your breath doesn't expand. And when you're ready, allow your attention to come up to your heart center in the middle of your chest. Then up to your throat center. Your third eye in the center of your head, behind and between your eyebrows. Then allow your attention to follow the energy up and out the top of your head. And begin to feel the circulation of the energy. Now continue to hold your energy inside and your attention inside as you gently open your eyes. Ah, we're so happy to be with you. How may we serve this morning? We love the feedback we got about the death. Please talk to us. Pam,
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay. So, as you know, our mom passed the day after the group shared a moment with me and Carol about her letting go. And she let go the very next day. And so I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone and to let you know that it's been very gentle for the whole family. She definitely had lived her life 102 years, and she had been wanting to go for years, and she finally was able to. And so we were all very grateful and had a wonderful little family celebration with a bonfire and tossing little notes from each of us into the bonfire. And it was very calming and a treasure, just like she was. Anyway, thank you all.
That was so beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the understanding that death is a new beginning rather than just an end, but it's a whole new adventure that we all will experience at some point. You know, ice to water, water to steam. Everything changes form. And one can't imagine that the ether is not more refined than the density of our physical bodies. That's kind of how nature works. And we're very much a part of that nature. much as we attempt to deny it with our electronics and all the things that can distract us. So delighted. How may we serve further this morning? Yes.
Question. Can you say more about the fifth dimension?
The fifth dimension is not a place. It's not a location. Dimensions are not locations. Dimensions are experiences that are available as a part of evolution. And where humanity is hopefully headed as part of that evolution is into a world where love is the motivator for every single person, where every single person before they act says, is this in the highest best interest for me and the whole? And until they get a yes, they don't act, because they understand that alignment for one person is alignment for the whole. And that when you think of your relationship in relationship to that alignment, then you're always seeking that alignment. I'll give you an example. I think everybody on this call has had the experience of somebody in their environment who's not paying attention to what the feeling is and acts inappropriately. We've all had that experience. And it causes us to want to react to that person because they're being inappropriate to the environment. Well, imagine a life where everybody paid attention to every environment and was trying to interact in the highest way that they could think of. And that everybody else was doing that, and that was the motivator. Instead of, what motivates people in our culture is chasing the dollar, because that's what's rewarded. And chasing things outside of ourselves, because it's not considered important to pay attention to your inner state in our particular culture. It's more important what other people think about our state than what we are experiencing in our state, which, if you think about it for 10 seconds, it doesn't make any sense. Because why are we here? Are we here to make other people think we're good? I mean, what does that really get us? The idea that our neighbors approve. What does that really get us? We would venture to say not much. That the real relationship that we need to pay attention to first and foremost is our relationship with ourselves. Are we loving ourselves? Are we acting in our own highest best interests? Because we would posit to you that if you aren't acting in your own highest best interests, then how could you be acting in the highest best interest for anybody else? You have to have that experience yourself, that you love your life, that you create an environment around you that you want to live in. And when you do that, other people will naturally be attracted. So, fifth dimensional experience is when you're acting in your own highest best interests and the highest best of the whole. And so it's not something far away and it's not a location. It is a state within ourselves where we love ourselves and everyone else. But because we don't have a clear definition of what love is, because it's been very muddied because we use the same word for romance, for, how we relate to our elders, for how we relate to our children, for how we, how we relate to a sport. We have that word all confused in the meaning. So let's say that love and respect are two things that are intertwined, that cannot be separated. So when you talk about love in the context of respect, then that elevates even our relationship with ourselves. When we talk about love and respect, we're talking about self-respect, which again brings us to the quality of our own life and what it is we are really cultivating within us that makes it worthwhile to share with others. So what is our message to ourselves? Are we constantly repeating a judgmental mantra about how bad we are, or how ugly we are, or how inappropriate the last thing we said was, or any kind of self-rejection? Are we like spending our energy on that? Or are we taking our attention inside with the intention to love ourselves? And what does that feel like? We're so trained to view that as narcissism, self-love. It's not narcissism. It's the only thing that makes sense as an inner state. How can we love anybody else if we don't know what that is for ourselves? So fifth dimensional awareness is about appreciating the fact that we have a life, the fact that we're here in this place. All of us are living in abundance. All of us. There's nobody here wanting for their next meal or with a question about where the roof is going to be or whether there's going to be a roof over our head. For this moment, may not last for our entire lives. We have no idea what's going to happen in the next moment. But for this moment, we have the luxury of time, space, and energy to investigate our inner state and to make choices about how we're going to treat, first of all, ourself. And we'll say that self with a capital S, the part that knows what alignment is. And so if we understand that that alignment exists within us, waiting to teach us about itself as we try to experience that, and then life gives us feedback about how our alignment is, and we begin to really pay attention to our feeling state. Most of us were taught that our feelings are irrelevant, and that if they are having any impact on what's coming out of our mouth, then we're a failure. Now, this doesn't really make any sense. When the highest feelings a person can have are so beautiful, why don't we cultivate that beauty instead of self-rejection? always feeling like we're falling short in the eyes of our neighbor or some other outside person that we have internalized as our guideposts for how to behave. Why don't we really explore the beauty that exists within us? The capacity for love, the capacity for expansion, the capacity to know that capital S self. That's what fifth dimension is about. It exists inside every one of us, waiting for us to discover. It's another word for enlightenment. Understanding the light that's available inside us, that when that light is beaming out, that's fifth dimensional awareness. So it's not a place that we aspire to. It's an inner being. And all doing comes from being. So why wouldn't we explore the most beautiful part of ourselves? And before we begin every day, make sure we are in alignment with that. And then throughout the day, we check our alignment, we realign, we get as close to it as we can. And every day, our experience changes. So there is no finer purpose that we could find for our lives, regardless of what else we do with our time. Exploring our inner, aligning ourselves with, first of all, self-love, with a capital S, for that part of us which is completely in alignment with divinity. That's the capital S self. And we cultivate a feeling state worth sharing. And we begin to think about how we engage other people in conversation. And the conversations that we are engaged in. And we think about what it would be like to have conversations that are about alignment as a regular part of our life. This means we can begin to engage our partners in doing same, so that our life begins to expand in that way, just little by little. We engage the people around us so that we're all trying to work in this harmony of alignment, in this joy of love, shared love. And that's why spiritual communities happen, because people want a place to practice that. We hope that answers your question. Now, we'll say further that the process of spiritual growth will awaken in us the unresolved patterns of negativity that are required for us to bring into harmony as we move forward. So it's not uncommon for a person to begin to work deeper and suddenly discover emotional pain. Because of course, when we begin to cultivate the depths of ourselves, we will first encounter that which is unworked. It's not always like that. You know, sometimes there's a period of bliss. Other times there's a fair amount of darkness. And neither one is bad news, because the process is engaging everything. All parts are welcome. And the more we work with the disharmony within ourselves, the bigger our perspective gets, and the more we begin to cultivate compassion, because we understand what it is to feel horrible emotionally. And we learn to hold space for others when they feel horrible. And very often people feel horrible about themselves. Or we feel horrible about another person because it's triggering something in ourselves that we don't particularly enjoy. So this is not for the faint of heart. But there's nothing more rewarding for a human being than to spend some time every day in meditation, practicing mantra, really journaling, you know, examining our feelings, forgiving ourselves, forgiving others. Learning to love. Thank you so much for the question. How may we serve further? Yes.
So it's me again. I hope I'm not taking up space, too much space here. But for the last couple of weeks, I've been having this question arise about all parts are welcome, because I find that there are two parts that keep coming up that I don't find I welcome. And one is the recurring memory of an interaction with a person who was, let's say, condemning or judgmental or something. At the time, I did not feel that it was deserved. A lot of times feedback is deserved and sometimes not. Someone very close to me said, well, not very close to me, but newly close to me, said something like, how very white privilege of you. And I had just been watching the PBS programs on Black history, current history. I was feeling so much compassion for Black people, and also realizing that if a person is born white, they already have white privilege. It doesn't matter how poor, where they live, anything. They already have a leg up. And so this came as a shock, and also like, what? I guess you don't know me very well. But anyway, that's just one example. I've got a zillion of them. And they come up during meditation. It's kind of like the whatever the person said or the interaction that we had. It's I have forgiven them because I sort of understand where they might be coming from. And also, I don't want to hang on to the animosity towards them, but the recording keeps coming up. And I don't welcome it. And the other one, can I put them both out there? Because the
Sure.
other one is a kind of an ego thing. When I feel as though, I've come to some realization, or I have any kind of accomplishment, I find my ego wants to come in and snatch it and bring it into the vanity column. And I don't welcome it. Both of those things I've actually asked, please go away, please stop. You are not welcome. So anyway, I'm wondering how all parts are welcome to examine, but do they have to keep recurring? You know, I'm not welcoming them recurring.
Well, you know, it's one of those very interesting things that happens when you tell something to go away. It very often gets stronger, and it doesn't leave. It comes back with a vengeance. So, and this has to do, it's like, well, it's just the image that's coming to mind. It's like a sewer that's trying to off gas, but when you block the outlet, then it can't off gas, and it actually backs up and gets stronger. And then the next time it comes, it happens worse. And every time you block it, it gets more. Now that's a dramatic illustration, but that's kind of what happens with the energy when there's something that, and especially when it's undeserved, because there's this kind of, how dare they misunderstand me? And so it's like you're having this inner battle. They're no longer part of the picture. It's all you. And when you understand that it's all you, that the other person is long gone, it's not their energy you're dealing with, it's yours. And so when something comes up that you don't welcome is exactly the time that you say, okay, come and tell me all about this. And then it will suddenly disappear. You won't be able to find it, because it's actually your resistance to it that's giving it the power. So And there's a possibility that there's part of you that is divided about whether they were telling the truth about you. Well, maybe I don't understand what white privilege is. You know, we all have that this particular thing to deal with. Do we really understand it? You know, the people who are born into not having white privilege have no alternative but to experience it on a moment by moment basis in their lives. And we have it come into our awareness when we do. It's not our moment to moment experience. And so it's possible the person was just saying that, you know, you don't live in that moment to moment experience, which is the truth for all of us. And it's true about all levels of privilege. They make us, you know, sort of immune to the disappointments of others that are built into the system. So there's that. Everything has to be welcome. Otherwise, we're creating this situation. When we find ourselves pushing things away, that means there's something unresolved about it in us. And we forgot the second thing.
Ego trip.
Oh, yeah. Let yourself go on the ego trip and watch it. Oh, look at that ego trip. I am so vain. I am so cool. I'm so not cool. I'm so cool. I'm so not, you know, you let yourself do it and it will dissipate. But when we resist these things, they get power. They take our power because we are giving them energy that they didn't have before. Our resistance is actually energy. And so whenever we block something, we're creating a block. Whenever we open ourselves to something, we are opening to flow. And then we have the option of how we guide that flow in ourselves to something higher. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I wonder about how much time I can devote to the going on an ego trip or going with the negative reactions.
Decide you're going to give it 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then just watch what happens in 30 seconds. And probably that's enough. You know, you don't have to spend your life being on an ego trip or feeling bad about yourself. You know, but you do have to give it 30 seconds.
Okay.
And
I'll try that.
you'll discover what it feels like to run its course. You know, even if you give it 2 days, you know, if you're on an ego trip for 2 days and then it's done, how amazing. How amazing, right?
I guess.
Have you ever had
Yeah,
an ego
picture
trip?
that.
Have you ever had an ego trip last for 2 days?
I don't know if I can recall that. No, it's hit by the world and dissolves quite quickly.
Right. So you don't have much to worry about that. Now, on the other hand, we do sometimes really get indulgent about feeling bad about ourselves. We all do that. Because for some reason, that's considered okay in our culture. Why we don't aspire to beauty instead of feeling bad, I don't know. It's an interesting question to ask yourself. There's something about our Judeo-Christian heritage, I suspect, that makes guilt and blame and shame all feel like they're duties or something. But aspire to experiencing the joy of looking at something in nature, like a fresh rose or a bird, anything in nature, how a cat walks. Everything has its beauty. And when we allow ourselves to appreciate that, even for a moment, we're transported into a different state. A beautiful piece of music, beautiful turn of phrase, somebody who wrote a great sentence. All of these things are examples of things that change our inner feeling to appreciation. So it's a different kind of entertainment. Really, if we can use our entertainment as part of our inspiration to really change our feeling state to something higher, how amazing. Usually we look for the lowest common denominator on the television to distract us when we're too tired to think or do or whatever. Imagine just staring at a fine painting or appreciating a sunset, looking for the green flash. We've all probably done that at least once or twice. Does that help?
Yes, always.
Good. We love being here. This is so much fun. How may we serve further? Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
You won't believe this, but I just figured how to unmute my new little AirPad.
Perfect.
Sorry, I haven't been communicating. Quite by accident just now. Um, I really enjoyed seeing all of you and the conversation. Thank you. And what's going on with our full moon today?
I think we're in Uttar Bhadrapada, which is the 26th of the 27 houses of the moon. And it's a very beautiful spiritual placement for the moon. Moon is in Pisces, and Jupiter is also retrograde in Pisces. So this creates something in Vedic astrology that's called a yoga. When Jupiter and moon are together, it's a magical combination that turns that particular placement is called elephant lion yoga, Gaja Keshari yoga. And what it does is it makes the person able to completely overcome the obstacles in their circumstance and make the best of the situation, gives them the power to make the best. The Jupiter and moon are both very beneficial planets. And when they're together, they create a lot of expansion and good feeling. And so that Jupiter moon combination is very good for the world. Everyone's experiencing it today. And now the moon will only be there for one day. Tomorrow it will be in Revati, which is the 27th house of the moon. And that is the last house of the moon. So it's the most spiritual place. It's the very last house of it's the very last house of the moon in the very last house of the zodiac. And it's actually, so it has a lot to do with endings. So that's what's coming up in the next 2 days with the moon. But it's quite a beautiful full moon.
Oh,
Really, really nice.
thank you. That's
Mhm.
nice to hear.
Mhm.
Something that everyone can feel that's good for.
Yes, a woman born in India in this house of the moon is considered to be the gem of the family because of her inner state from being under this moon. So it's a very auspicious placement.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. It's nice to have something good to say.
Isn't it? Yes, thank you.
And it's also giving us a respite because Venus is, I think it's behind the sun at the moment. It's quite combust in Virgo, which is directly opposite this Jupiter moon. So the Jupiter moon is helping that situation. So we are able to feel pretty good, even though Venus is not that available. Jupiter moon make up for it. How may we serve further? You know, there are times when other people really disappoint us. That happens. And the only thing to be done is to wish them well. And appreciate ourselves for all the good we tried to do. And understand that sometimes we have no idea. We have no idea what the good that we offered in that situation kept from happening that could have been much, much worse. So we hold to our own intention. And we we allow the disappointment to flow through us. Understanding we did our best. It's not about the outcome. We don't really know about outcomes. We can only project what we think the outcome is that we're seeing. And it's about our the fineness of our inner intention. What we bring, whether it's appreciated or not, is irrelevant. It's the quality that we bring to our lives and our interactions. And it's not up to us. It's beyond our pay grade what happens after that. And it's one of the reasons that we don't make predictions, because everybody has free will. Everybody has free will. And yourself, you can change your mind on a dime for the oddest of reasons. We all do it. And we learn. And most of the books that are out there about how to live well, most of them are about people who have an agenda of trying to control us. Every religion that has come to the planet has been usurped at some point by people who want to control others. And so it's just been tweaked here and there to make us reject ourselves so that we're easier to control. There's no person harder to control than one who is in alignment, because that is pure self-control. Yes.
Speaking of situations where people have really disappointed, and the reaction of anger and hurt, I find that sometimes it's very hard to utilize the Nasa temple in that circumstance, because it's hard to really bring equanimity to it when there's no way of communicating on this plane. And of course I want the highest good, but it's a challenge.
Well, there are two ways to use the Inasa temple in that circumstance. The first one is to heal yourself, because when a person disappoints deeply and they're very close, it becomes a form of abuse to be the one who's disappointed, because it is. That's the truth of it. Because the person took your energy and used it for what they think is their own gain, when actually it's, creating something much different than what they think. So there is allowing yourself to be healed from being used in that way. That's the first thing. That's the first level of discontent, is that you were abused. You have been abused, used, and taken advantage of. And that's just a fact. So you must heal yourself first before you have any perspective. Once once that self-healing has occurred, then you have a choice. You can let go. That's completely foreign. It's not in alignment with who you are. So you go to the Inasa temple and you make your highest wish for that person, that they begin to seek alignment within themselves.
But you don't actually try to talk it out with them.
No. First of all, any attempt to try to talk it out with them when they're in the midst of their whatever behavior is coming from you, not from them. And so they have to want to be helped. They have to want something different before you can engage. And so they have to demonstrate that that's what they want by making some effort to contact you. And then when they make that effort, you ask the questions to see what it is they're really wanting. And you may ask them why they think that that's appropriate for you to give in light of their behavior. Because you have to respect the quality that you bring to every interaction with another person. And if this person is incapable of appreciation of that, then you have to decide whether or not it's a good idea to make it available again. and ask them if they are capable of valuing it in an appropriate way.
In the temple.
You can ask in the temple, you can ask for some sign that they're capable. And you can ask for information about whether you should pick up the relationship again. It's not a given that you have to participate. It's not a given. It is every human's birthright to be able to know God, to be able to know themselves as divine. But it's not always our job to inform a particular person. And so it's worthwhile to ask what's appropriate and to really feel into yourself whether or not it's your work to do with the person, or there might be somebody else who's more effective than you with the person. Or they might have to hit rock bottom in the whole thing before they can climb out again. Maybe that they're requiring that experience. So you move carefully with much self-respect and respect for what it is you really have to offer and whether this is an appropriate person to offer it to. Because they've self-selected in a totally different direction that has quite a bit of momentum. And we would say the minimum is that you've been taken for granted. But there's a point where participating in a relationship becomes self-abuse. And we would not like that for you. Mm. But we know, we see that there's that in you which loves to give. And we don't see you giving up. And we see the potential there too, just as you do. The potential for good, but it has to be acknowledged that that's what wants to happen. There has to be some awareness that this has not been the best judgment. So far, we don't see it. It's too soon. Does that answer your question? Mhm. Don't undersell yourself. Yeah, it's easy to get trapped in somebody else's downward spiral if they're committed to spiraling downward. Sometimes you just have to let go. Mm. Allow people to do what they really want to do and discover what it is they need to learn. Mm. Anything else? We're so happy to be here. Yes.
I don't understand alignment.
Well, alignment is a choice. You know, we can choose to be aligned with our reaction to whatever it is we just read in the newspaper. We can choose to react to that, and that's choosing alignment with an opinion that we then go for or against in ourselves, and we hold that feeling. We can choose to be in alignment with the feeling that arises when we say a mantra. And we say that mantra over and over again, and that begins to create a feeling experience within us. That's alignment. We can sit down and think about what it is that we want our day to be about. That's, in a way, a series of choices about alignment. Okay, it's important for me to eat a good breakfast. These are the foods that really serve my body. That's a kind of alignment. So every choice that we make for our lives is in alignment with something. And our choices we have creative license about our choices. Many of our choices at this stage in our lives, we have creative license about how we choose to be aligned and what we choose to be aligned with. Now, a lot of them we do out of habit, like probably what we eat for breakfast. We decided a long time ago was really healthy for us, and so we repeat that often. I mean, food can be like that. But you see, that's a certain kind of alignment that we're choosing for our action. And so what we're saying is that the highest alignment a person can choose is to be aligned with actions that are taken for the highest best for ourself and for the multiverse as a whole. In this moment, from our perspective, we are choosing the highest alignment that we can imagine. And as we attempt to live more and more with that highest that we can imagine as our vision for the creation of the feeling, it's actually beyond feeling, what we're talking about, the union with the highest that becomes available from our dedication to self-discovery. And that union allows us access to ever more refined experiences of what it is to be a human being. And what's possible for the human collective in terms of creativity and alignment. Because ultimately what we're talking about is not a concept, but an experience of union. And we could describe it as a feeling, but it's really not a feeling, and it's really not exactly a state. It is an experience that is beyond language. Now we are broadcasting that experience at this moment, hoping that that will become available to you more and more as we hang out together. So this feels like the perfect segue into meditation, because it is that experience of union that we wish to share so much. And we're so grateful that you're here to share it with us. Thank you. So we'll just continue broadcasting, and you can take it in whatever way is comfortable for you. Thank you so much for being here today. We totally enjoyed being with you. So much love. Bye for now.